attract more visitors. Restaurant owners all over the world use all kinds of tricks. Sometimes it can be huge discounts, sometimes exotic cuisine, but some create such establishments where you don't even think about the taste of your dish. We're talking about the most unusual, amazing, and fun restaurants in the world. Are you intrigued already? Then, let's get it on. Cafe econ, aquariums, or even whole ponds in restaurants and cafes are not new. But what about fish? Swimming right under your feet? Yes, there's an unusual place where every visitor has to take his or her shoes off before entering, because the floor of the No.9 cafe is flooded with water, and large and small bright fish live in it. A very interesting idea. The sea. Inhabitants of the restaurant can even be fed using special food. And they're not afraid of people at all. However, it's not recommended to touch the fish with your hands. The Colonial Tram Car Restaurant. A lunch on the go is bad for your health. Not in the tram restaurant. You shouldn't miss this unusual culinary adventure. This is not just an excursion in a 1928 tram, but also an incredibly tasty dinner. You can literally spend the evening between two centuries. Outside the window you have the 21st century, and inside the middle of you, the 20th century. The luxury of that time, and the musical accompaniment of Frank Sinatra. By the way, all the dishes served in this restaurant on wheels are prepared inside. There is a maitre d', a waiter, and a chef working in this unusual transport. Keep in mind that you need to book a table at the Colonial Tramcar Restaurant at least 2 weeks in advance, so you'll be sure to get a place in the car. Don the Black. It's said that if you limit the possibilities of 1 sense, the rest of them will certainly work better. For example, close your eyes, and you'll start to hear much better than before. A similar concept idea inspired the creation of the restaurant No.9. But clients here don't get a blindfold. Instead, the owners just turn the lights off inside instead. Each of the customers of No.9 eats in absolute darkness. And by the word absolute, we mean that there are not even tiny luminous dots in here. The fact is that visual perception changes a person's sense of food. And therefore, in this unusual restaurant, they ask you not to focus on the appearance of the dishes, but on their smell, taste, and texture. There are only 4 options on the menu. A red menu for meat eaters, blue for seafood lovers, green for vegetarians, and white, which is just a surprise from the chef. You need to decide on the number of dishes, but the rest will be a surprise. What are you eating? Is it melon and pork? An octopus? Maybe a cucumber salad? In the dark, the taste sensations vary greatly, as does the perception of everything that surrounds you. To enhance the new experience of tactile sensations, many customers eat just with their hands. To be honest, you won't make a fool of yourself because obviously no one can see you. The Rock. Who would say no to dinner at a restaurant on an island in the middle of the Indian Ocean? Not even on an island though, but on a tiny rock where there's only a single mud house with a thatched roof. Lover's heaven. There are only 14 tables here, and therefore, if you want to celebrate New Year's Eve here, you have to make a reservation 14 months in advance. But believe us, it's worth it. The Rock restaurant is considered one of the most famous and popular places of the island of Zanzibar. From the shore, it doesn't look very big, but it's a deceptive impression. The place is quite spacious, and in addition, from the sea, there is also an open terrace with a great landscape. At low tide, the restaurant can be reached by foot through the beach, but everything changes when the sea rises, because the Rock turns into an island, separated from the coast by several feet of water. Of course, the depth here is small, and you can easily reach the restaurant by yourself. However, if you don't want to wet your feet, ask the locals and they'll take you on a boat for a couple of dollars. The Grotto. The Grotto restaurant is located in the V Resort Rayavati in Thailand and is, well, basically a grotto. The dining area is located right on the Pharanang beach under an ancient limestone cliff. It's an ideal place to enjoy the sunset while sipping some delicious cocktail or eating snacks from local ingredients, imagining that you're a pirate who landed on a desert island. Well, at least an adventurer. The Grotto is literally saturated with fantasy, the lovers of gourmet cuisine. The Grotto offers a weekly BBQ party with fresh seafood, which will be cooked right on the sand. However, to take part in it, you need to book a table in advance. Otherwise, you risk staying without dinner, because the place is just too popular. Ice restaurant? Every winter, builders from the Finnish city of Rovaniemi create unique buildings of snow and ice. But we're not talking about fairy tale characters or slides. They build whole hotels and restaurants. The materials are found nearby. The establishments are built on the shore of a lake with the purest water. So the ice here is perfectly transparent and perfectly suited to create, for example, tables or even dishes. Can you imagine what it's like to drink from an ice glass? Inside this unusual place, in fact, it's not actually that cold. The temperature is only a couple of degrees below zero because the snow used for the walls is an excellent thermal insulation material. Nevertheless, you won't be wearing only a shirt, and the customers have to use jackets and hats. The menu consists of local delicacies, and plates with food are brought on warm stones which are preheated so that the food doesn't cool down. We wonder if the plates damage the tables. Anyway, the most surprising thing is that the icy restaurant welcomes customers only a few months of the year, because obviously they melt without the onset of spring and are rebuilt the next winter. Jules Verne. Since we're talking about cool restaurants, we just have to visit Paris. Oh yeah, this is the capital of culinary art, and the best place to eat in the world. And although each restaurant is unique in its own way, there are some legendary places. For example, Jules Verne. The restaurant Jules Verne is located in the heart of Paris, on the second floor of the Eiffel Tower, at a height of 125 meters. It has welcomed guests for 20 years. And to get inside, you don't have to stand in the huge queue of tourists wishing to climb to the top of the tower. There is a separate lift for lovers of fine French cuisine on the southern pillar of the tower. At the table, you can look through the few windows and see Paris, or turn your head and see how your food is prepared. Well, after a meal, you can take a walk to the observation deck. However, it's not the highest point on the tower. Giraffe Manoa. Imagine that you're enjoying a quiet breakfast when suddenly a curious giraffe appears over your shoulder. This isn't an episode from a family comedy, though about animals escaping from the zoo, but a usual situation in the Kenyan boutique hotel Giraffe Manor. Toy. It's located in an old mansion in the outskirts of Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, and offers its guests a unique opportunity to get to know the Rothschild giraffes. These amazing animals walk freely through the territory, and every morning they look for breakfast through large windows, hoping to get something tasty. The local giraffes can be touched, photographed, and, of course, fed. For this purpose, the visitors receive special bags with food. The owners of the hotel claim that each animal has its own character and behavior. Some of them, especially the younger individuals, are very modest and afraid of approaching people, while others, on the contrary, shove their heads into the windows in search of food without embarrassment. Every day, the giraffes punctually gather near the breakfast room to receive some treats. Such an unusual attraction attracts hundreds of tourists to the hotel every year. And to be honest, we can see why. Street dinner. Do you love quests? You can't live without riddles. And a mysterious street dinner restaurant in the Italian city of Ferrara is perfect for you. The visitor makes an order and leaves his phone number, and later he'll receive further instructions, step by step by phone. You need to register in advance, as well as pay a fee of 60 euros. This amount includes a pair of teeth, a table, 2 chairs, and a menu with it, a choice of dishes, as well as branded street dinner t-shirts and a map of the city. And then the culinary adventure begins. Everyone who decides to enjoy a street dinner has to find the right items for the dinner, as well as the place where the food would be served, which changes every time. Meanwhile, the organizers will guide you via SMS. But the coolest part is, not only that everyone can feel like a child playing treasure hunting, but also the opportunity to admire the local sights. There really is a lot to see. The history of the city goes back to antiquity. Well, for those who think a day is not enough, the creators offer the service. Hotel and dinner, a 2-day quest plus 2 nights at a local hotel. They say it's just an unforgettable experience. Hajime Robot Restaurant. Robots are now playing an important role in many areas of our lives, replacing a variety of devices like vacuum cleaners. But what about robot waiters? The Hajime Robot Restaurant in Bangkok is located away from the tourist places, and therefore isn't actually that popular. Too bad, because the food in this restaurant is served by real robots. Once upon a time, the owner of the establishment ordered 2 androids from Japan, dressed them with national Japanese armor, and trained them to deliver food trays to the customers. Each table is equipped with a tablet and electronic menu, which is easy to understand for anyone who is at least a little familiar with modern technology. The robot restaurant has a good selection of Japanese cuisine, but there are also...
Thanks a ton for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, and drop a comment below. Share it with your friends too, because good stuff's always better shared.